Hi, my name is Lee, and this is my rhetorical essay, rhetorical criticism essay. This speech was given by Shirley Chisholm. This public speech was given by Shirley Chisholm on October 3rd, 1983, at Greenville High School, sponsored by Greenville Community College. Ms. Chisholm titled her speech Coalition. She said black and white, male and female, must form a coalition to make the world a better place to live. Later in her speech, she would infer that tyrants run the world system. Perhaps the inference also included a fear of dire consequences if one joined this coalition, this progressive movement. Therefore, not all people of the world would consent to being a part of this bold coalition step. Ms. Chisholm's speech covered some highly important issues in this country, such as African American civil rights movement, the white women's feminist movement, and the destitute of uneducated poor of America. These present concerns of Mrs. Chisholm, as she discusses in her speech, probably began because of her humble beginning, especially her concern for children, because for several years she and her siblings were separated from their parents at a very young age. Subsequently, she earned a college degree in childhood education. Apparently, even at that time, while she was in college, she did not agree with the treatment of, uh, of children in this country. In this Garfield speech, Ms. Chisholm discussed the poverty of black and white children in Mississippi, Kentucky, and Virginia. She witnessed during her speech travel events. The homes with dirt floors, nor indoor plumbing, and starvation. Children with such uh, decimation that they did not look human, says Mrs. Chisholm. Uh, this speaks volume for government officials of these states and Ms. Chisholm bringing these horrible conditions into the public arena. As previously stated, this concern for children must have begun in Ms. Chisholm's childhood, which during which time her parents were financially unable to care for her and her siblings, who were all younger than Ms. Chisholm herself. Shirley Chisholm was born Shirley Anita St. Hill on November 30th in 1924 in Brooklyn, New York. She had a humble beginning. Born to immigrant parents, her father, Charles Christopher Hill, was born in British Guyana. He lived in Barbados and Cuba before immigrating to the United States. Her mother, Ruby Seal, was born in Christchurch, Barbados. She immigrated to the United States in 1921. The St. Hills were both unskilled laborers. Mr. St. Hill worked in a bag factory and as a baker's helper. Mrs. St. Hill worked as a skilled seamstress and as a housekeeper. 4 children were born to Mr. and Mrs. St. Hill. Shirley was the eldest. Unable to work and take care of the children, the St. Hills sent them to Barbados to live with their maternal grandmother, Emily Seal. In 1934, the St. Hill children returned to the U.S. Shirley Anita St. Hill began high school in Brooklyn. After high school, she earned a Bachelor of Arts at Brooklyn College in 1946. After she finished her college, she met and married Conrad O. Chisholm. He immigrated to America from Jamaica in 1946. The new Miss Chisholm taught at a nursery school and continued her education. She attended Columbia University, where she earned a master's in childhood education. Ms. Chisholm was an educator, politician, and author. She was an educational consultant, served in New York State Assembly. Chisholm was the first black woman to be elected to the United States Congress and wrote two books, Unbought and Unbossed. The title speaks for itself as to its content. Ms. Chisholm also penned her autobiography. Ms. Chisholm, now armed with much life experience and formal education, was very prepared to begin her speaking career as a part of her profession. As stated earlier, in this Greenfield speech centered on how the middle and upper middle class must unite and solve urgent problems facing the U.S. citizens caused by tyrants around the world who run the world system until this very day. Ms. Chisholm began this Greenfield speech proper by reading a letter written by Abigail Adams, wife of the second president in the United States, while he attended the Congressional Congress. This Congress consisted of all elite white males. The conference was held and attended by the elite white males of America to write laws for this newly formed country, America. In her letter, Abigail Adams informed her husband to remember women when in the construction of laws for this country. Chisholm's speech remarks indicated that he absolutely did not consider women's rights at the Congress. Chisholm said in this Garfield speech that women in the 18th century were thought of as property. White women were expected to have children, run the house, and be at the disposal and obey her husband. This inference from historical observation and at the time of the Greenfield speech. Chisholm said black people were property, slaves, and were forced by law to do back-breaking free labor. White women and black people were not allowed to vote or participate in government. Ms. Chisholm said at one point in her speech, "I don't want the gentleman here," at her speech, "to feel uncomfortable. I think if you are broad-minded, you will understand where I'm coming from." Quote. Ms. Chisholm was in effect saying that anyone who wanted to be a part of the coalition for change is welcome. Other issues in the Greenfield speech were the working women in this country, why they worked. For instance, women were not working to buy unnecessary items, but simply to have the necessities of life, food, shelter, and so forth. Perhaps to financially help out husband to have, or perhaps she was widowed or deserted by her husband. Ms. Chisholm also addressed the concerns of well-to-do, educated, highly paid conservative white women who were against the protest by the feminine movement. Chisholm said she had reminded these women who had attended an event she reminded them that this education they have and the good job was because of the women before them who had fought for the change that brought about these conditions they now enjoy. Another issue Ms. Chisholm discussed was the confrontation to the power structure, the confrontation of the power structure. By power structure, could she have referred to the old families and institutions around the world? Perhaps the power structures are the Queen of England, the Catholic Church, the wealthy Jews, the wealthy Arabs, the wealthy Texas oilmen, the Rothschild, the De Beers, and other behind the scene power players that run the planet. Please note emphasis is the wealthy. Just a thought. Whoever this power structure is, Ms. Chisholm said, they know a coalition is a power and could create such freedom for all. Perhaps a world of equality ruled by laws. A novel idea. I'm just saying. I believe the speech was very informative. It discussed poverty conditions, dirt floor homes, no indoor plumbing, and starvation of children in southern states that most people are not aware. The delivery of the speech by Ms. Chisholm, I think, was excellent. Ms. Chisholm was forceful, straightforward. For example, she suggested the formation of a coalition between Black Americans and white women and broad-minded, fearless white men to achieve freedom from tyranny in America. We did it before and won our independence from Great Britain. Unlike Scotland, Ireland, approximately half of China, and many other territories now under the control of the Queen of England. Tyranny comes in all colors. However, enlightened citizens of a country will not tolerate it. The audience showed their support from the beginning of the speech, thought through to the end, by applause and standing. Overall, I think the speech was very effective. Thank you for your attention.